What if the first sign your mom, your dad, or your partner was slipping away wasn't memory loss, not forgetting names, not repeating stories, but something far more uncomfortable, strange little habits that feel just a bit off, out of place, and completely unlike the person you know. Most families don't recognize these signs right away. Some ignore them. Others feel too awkward to bring it up. But here's the heartbreaking truth. Over 60% of dementia cases begin this way. Not with confusion, but with quiet, subtle shifts. A new behavior, a strange reaction, a moment that makes you say, "That's not like them." These may be the brain's first cries for help, long before anyone talks about memory. And missing that window could mean losing precious time you can never get back. Brain, in this video, you'll learn about 7 real-life early signs, all seen in families just like yours and backed by real science. Movie camera, and somewhere in the middle, we'll uncover one powerful warning sign that even doctors often miss, and why catching it early might change everything. Speech balloon: if someone you love has been acting a little off, stay with us. You might just recognize something that could help them while there's still time. And hey, if this video helps you, please like, comment, or subscribe to Senior Health Tips. You're not just supporting this channel, you're helping another family catch the signs before it's too late. 1. Subtle accidents, when the body whispers before the mind speaks. One of the earliest signs isn't about forgetting birthdays or getting lost. It's something many are too embarrassed to admit: minor bladder accidents. At first, it's just small leaks or sudden urges that come out of nowhere. Most families chalk it up to aging or a prostate issue. But deep down, something more delicate may be happening. In early dementia, the brain's control center for recognizing physical sensations, like bladder pressure, can weaken. Seniors may no longer register urgency or may miscalculate the time needed to reach the bathroom. Sometimes, they even forget where the bathroom is, especially in unfamiliar places. This kind of subtle misfire isn't just about incontinence, it's about a fading connection between body and mind. When someone changes clothes more often, seems embarrassed but won't talk about it, or avoids outings where bathroom access is unclear, those are signals you shouldn't ignore. Backhand index pointing right: here's something many families don't know. The earlier this symptom is spotted, the more options are available. With treatment and brain-supportive routines, some early damage can be slowed dramatically. So next time you see your loved one brushing off a small accident, ask yourself, is this the first whisper of something bigger? Glowing star up next, a strange shift in the way people talk, playful at first, but quietly unsettling. And what it reveals about the brain might shock you. 2. Baby talk isn't always cute. It could be a cry for help. Picture this: someone who once spoke clearly and respectfully suddenly starts using babyish phrases: tummy hurts, boo-boo, night-night. At first, it might seem like a joke or an attempt to be endearing, but if it becomes a pattern, it may point to something deeper. When dementia affects the frontal or temporal lobes, the brain's language centers and emotional regulators begin to unravel. It's not that the person forgot grown-up words. It's that their ability to filter and select appropriate vocabulary breaks down. Think of it this way: the brain is a filing cabinet, and when dementia hits, the folders on top, the most recent, most refined skills, are the first to fall out. What's left behind? Simpler language, old patterns, and emotional expressions from long ago. This regression in speech isn't a joke. It's a neurological roadmap telling us where the damage is spreading. And if caught early, language therapy and stimulation activities may help re-engage the brain's pathways. Sparkles: if you notice someone using childish language often, don't just laugh it off. Listen carefully. Their words might be the only warning they can give. Brain coming up next: when personal boundaries start to vanish and someone begins saying things they never would have dared before. It's not just awkward. It's a flashing red light. 3. Oversharing: when the brain forgets what's private. You know that little voice inside that tells us, don't say that here? That voice lives in your frontal lobe. And when dementia sets in, that voice can go silent. Suddenly, someone who used to be private starts telling strangers about their medical issues, finances, or intimate details. It can happen at the pharmacy, at a family gathering, or even in public places. The shock can be overwhelming, not just for the family, but for the person themselves, who may not even realize they've crossed a line. This behavior isn't just social awkwardness. It's a breakdown in social cognition, the brain's ability to understand context, appropriateness, and consequences. And while it may start with small oversharing, it can progress to full-blown confessions, misjudgments, or even legal risks. Light bulb, here's a simple test. If someone starts saying things they never would have before, especially to strangers, that's not just getting older. That's a signal of something neurological. Puzzle piece, stick with us, because in the next section, we explore a heartbreaking habit, when someone begins reenacting their old job as if nothing has changed, and what it reveals about how deeply dementia affects our identity. 4. Pretending to go to work, a fragile illusion of purpose. You may notice an older adult waking up early, putting on work clothes, grabbing a briefcase, and declaring they've got meetings or reports to finish, even if they've been retired for years. This isn't just nostalgia. It's the brain reaching for structure in a world that's becoming harder to understand. Our work, our roles, they anchor us. And when those anchors slip, the brain sometimes pulls up old routines to feel safe. Dementia patients often cling to familiar patterns when memory fades. Acting out work behaviors gives them a sense of control, even if they no longer understand why. And here's the danger. Families often think it's harmless or even cute, but this behavior can rapidly evolve from pretend meetings to wandering in the streets, looking for an office that doesn't exist. Direct it if you notice someone becoming obsessed with their old job or acting like they're still working. It's time to intervene, gently but firmly. Magnifying glass tilted left, up next. Modesty disappears. And the person who always dressed with care might now walk around in pajamas or worse. What's happening here will surprise you. 5. Loss of modesty when clothing becomes confusing. Imagine someone who once ironed their shirts every day, suddenly answering the door in underwear, or wearing mismatched socks, swimsuits under coats, or no pants at all. This isn't laziness or rebellion. It's a breakdown in social processing. Dementia affects the parts of the brain that help us understand what's appropriate, not just what to say, but what to wear. When routines are gone and memory slips, dressing becomes confusing. Clothes may feel unfamiliar. The purpose of garments may not make sense. And when judgment falters, modesty often goes with it. Coat families often struggle with this stage. It's embarrassing. It's baffling. But knowing that it stems from brain deterioration helps reduce shame and opens the door for solutions. Laying out clothes, simplifying choices, and using visual cues can help. You're curious to know what table manners can tell us about brain health? You're about to find out in the next section. 6. Eating habits that raise eyebrows, but reveal the truth. Forks and spoons, plates and napkins. These aren't just tools, they're learned behaviors. And when someone starts eating with their hands, licking plates, or ignoring utensils, something deeper is happening. This isn't a matter of rudeness or bad manners. It's a sign that brain regions managing motor control, impulse regulation, and social etiquette are being disrupted. And when dementia advances, even long-practiced behaviors like chewing properly or waiting for food to cool can vanish. Families sometimes joke or feel awkward, but they miss the point. The brain is quietly surrendering its scripts. Table behavior is one of the clearest windows into mental function. Pushpin, here's a gentle tip. If you see someone declining in table habits, it's time for cognitive testing, not just a napkin. As next, we'll discuss a habit that's often ignored because it's gross, spitting. But what it reveals might shock you. 7. Spitting, a subtle breakdown in reflex and control. You might notice someone clearing their throat more often, spitting into tissues, or even onto the floor. Disgusting? Yes, but also deeply revealing. As dementia progresses, the brain's control over reflexes, like swallowing, gagging, or even awareness of one's own saliva begins to fade. What looks like intentional behavior is often unconscious. This can become disruptive, but it's not defiance. It's disconnection. Understanding this helps shift our response from frustration to compassion. And if it's happening regularly, it's not allergies. It's time to ask deeper questions. Loudspeaker nu ban cam thay noi dung nai huich, hope muon chung tua kai tien han nua. Hey comment va dang ky kin. De ung ho chung tua lam and hung video tot han nua ne. Brain coming up. We'll share a list of lesser-known signs, the ones hidden in everyday life, that could be the clue your family needs. 8. The lesser-known signs, clues hiding in plain sight. Not all early signs of dementia are loud or shocking. Some whisper quietly, disguised as personality quirks or age-related changes. But taken together, these subtle shifts can paint a very clear picture. Sudden suspicion or paranoia. Thinking someone is stealing their things, hiding mail, or plotting behind their back. Compulsive hoarding, collecting napkins, rubber bands, food wrappers, or newspapers, just in case. Loss of empathy, laughing at sad stories, ignoring others' feelings, or reacting coldly to emotional events. Sleep disturbances, staying awake all night, waking up confused, or wandering around in the dark. Bluntness or sarcasm, saying hurtful things without realizing, or making inappropriate jokes. Individually, these might seem small, but collectively, they speak volumes. A left speech bubble. The brain doesn't lose all its functions at once. It unravels, thread by thread, behavior by behavior. And if we wait until the memory loss begins, we've waited too long. Speech balloon coming up. So what should you do? Now, if you've seen one or more of these signs in someone you love, the next part might be the most important. 9. What you can do now before it's too late. Seeing these signs can feel overwhelming. You may want to brush them off or tell yourself it's nothing. But deep down, if your gut says something's wrong, listen to it. Here's what to do next. YW checkmark. Start documenting behaviors. Use a journal or note app. Record what happened. When, and how often. YW checkmark. Gently bring it up. Choose a calm moment. Don't say, you're losing your mind. Instead, try, I've noticed something and I care about you. Can we talk? YW checkmark. Schedule a screening. Ask the doctor for a cognitive test. If needed, push for a referral to a neurologist or memory clinic. YW checkmark. Get support for yourself. Caregiving is emotionally draining. Seek a support group or online community. You don't have to do this alone. YW checkmark. Make practical plans early. Prepare for future decisions, while your loved one can still express their wishes. Stop sign waiting is the worst option. Every week matters. Early action can mean more time, better quality of life, and fewer regrets. Sparkle's next. Let's talk about prevention. Yes, you can take steps right now to protect your own brain and reduce your future risk. Let's shift from fear to empowerment. 10. Protecting your own brain starting today. Dementia isn't destiny. Your brain is like a garden. What you plant and how you water it matters. Research shows lifestyle has a powerful impact. Here's how you can keep your brain sharper, longer. Brain move every day. Even walking 20 minutes daily increases blood flow to the brain and reduces inflammation. Leafy green. Eat brain food. Dark leafy greens, berries, fatty fish, olive oil, and nuts all support cognitive health. Avoid processed foods, sugars, and trans fats. Person in bed sleep is your brain's detox. Deep sleep flushes out toxins. Aim for 7 to 8 hours in a dark, cool room. Puzzle piece. Challenge your mind. Puzzles, new skills, reading, or learning a new language help create new brain connections. Speech balloons stay social. Loneliness shrinks the brain. Call a friend, join a class, volunteer, or just get out of the house more often. Stethoscope control blood pressure and blood sugar. High levels silently damage brain vessels. Keep them in check. Remember, even small changes add up. You're never too old to start taking care of your brain. Sealing your future self and your family will thank you. Final thoughts. A story, a lesson, a second chance. I once spoke with a man who had spent 3 years ignoring his wife's strange behavior. He thought it was just stress or age. By the time they saw a specialist, it was too late to slow the decline. He told me, I didn't lose her all at once. I lost her piece by piece. And I wish someone had told me what to look for. That's why we made this video. Not to scare you, but to empower you. Dementia doesn't start with forgetting names. It starts with tiny shifts in speech, in behavior, in routine. And if we notice those signs early, we get a second chance. A chance to connect, to intervene, to support. So if this video stirred something inside you, take action. Talk to your loved one. Share what you learned. And most importantly, stay present with the people who matter. Because with dementia, it's not just memory that fades. It's moments, laughter, routines, relationships. You still have time. Use it wisely. Key lessons and helpful takeaways. Light bulb, pay attention to the small things. Subtle behavioral changes often come before memory loss. Trust your instincts. Light bulb, act early. The earlier you detect and respond to signs, the more time you gain to slow progression and plan ahead. Light bulb, don't face this alone. Involve doctors, caregivers, and supportive communities early. Dementia is hard, but it's harder in silence. Light bulb, support your own brain health daily with movement, healthy food, deep sleep, learning, and strong social ties. Prevention starts now. Light bulb, empathy matters. Behaviors that seem strange or embarrassing are not intentional. They are often silent cries from a struggling brain. Pushpin, and remember, recognizing the signs isn't about fear. It's about love. It's about giving your family the gift of awareness, understanding, and time. Folded hands. If you found this video helpful, please support our channel Senior Health Tips by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with someone who might need it. Every share helps us reach another family, another caregiver, and make a difference where it matters most. Thank you for being part of our community.